Okay, so first of all, can anybody in the back, does anybody have any issues hearing us up here? Because we don't have a microphone, so if you do, let us know. Like, if you can't hear us, feel free to be like, hey, speak up.
Or you can move up closer or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, don't be afraid, we don't bite.
Yeah, hard.
So the way we're gonna do this today is we're not gonna sit here and bore you all with a bunch of the crazy, boring details. Mainly what we're gonna do is we're gonna tell you who we are, how we got our start, what prompted us to get that start, and then we're just gonna let you guys really kind of grill us. Ask us any questions you wanna ask us. If there's something you wanna know, ask us, we'll answer your questions. We have some equipment up here on the table. After we're finished, if you wanna come up and take a look at it, you're welcome to do that. My name's Billy Skinner. I'm the president of Boonville, Indiana Paranormal Society. To my right here, this is Felicia Gessler. She's my wife, but she's also my partner and co-founder of the society as well. And to my left here, I just had a brain fart.
You don't remember me?
This is Greg. Greg is also one of our board members, as well as Danny standing over there to the left. But interesting thing about Greg is he's one of the more veteran, seasoned people on the team. He's very, 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 very experienced. He also has...
That's a nice way of saying I'm old.
I could have just said you're old. But he also runs Midwest Radio, which he airs, podcasts on Thursday nights. You can listen to him. He brings on all sorts of special guests and whatnot, and they just have a heck of a time having conversations and going back and forth about certain paranormal topics.
Yeah.
So myself, I got into the paranormal because I grew up in a little town called Clarksville, Ohio. And in Clarksville, my grandparents owned a house there. And throughout my childhood, I would go over to visit my grandparents, and their house was probably, and to this day still remains, one of the more terrifying places I've ever been in my life. But going through all of that and experiencing the experiences that I experienced there led me to start asking questions. And as I got older, I started to figure out, hey, there's ways to start looking into this. And then that eventually led me to join a team over in Ohio, which when I moved from Ohio to Indiana, I was like, well, there's no team out here for me to join really that I knew of, so I started Boonville, Indiana Paranormal Society. And I've been doing this with them now for the better part of 2.5, 3 years. So, Felicia?
I joined the team after you found out I was a medium. And that was by accident, because I didn't like telling people that I was a medium, because it is very taxing. Everybody wants to be a medium. Everybody wants to be this person that can talk to spirits. Trust me, you don't. It's a curse. So he figured it out one day, and he was like, "Hey, I do paranormal stuff. Want to come check out some haunted locations?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go."
Want to go hang out in the dark with me?
It's not that creepy, I swear. That's not how it went down at all.
Actually, it was a haunted camper that we first investigated.
Good God.
Haunted camper.
Yeah,
So,
that just goes to show that don't downplay any location, because you never know where it can be found.
I originally got into paranormal. My family was Jehovah's Witness, so we weren't allowed to talk about that kind of stuff. It was taboo again. But once I got out of that, my son started seeing stuff, and I knew I could see stuff. I didn't tell nobody that. But then my son started seeing stuff, and it started affecting him really bad. So then I started looking into stuff more. After all that, like, I had a crazy divorce and then met you, and now it's all history. I come onto the team. I am a medium. I am different though. I don't charge for my services. I don't believe in that, and I want to change the view of mediums. We shouldn't be looked at as these people that are like the 1-800, 1-800. Yeah, can you tell me who's in love with me? Like, no.
Miss
Can I get a
Exactly.
Miss Cleo? Can I get a spell for some money? Like, no, I don't do that. I do it for free. I go into these locations and don't charge anybody for anything. I've had friends walk up to me and go, "Please do a reading on me," and I'm like, "Are you sure? Because I'm probably gonna make you cry." And I do, every time. But I have gone into locations that I have no knowledge of any of these locations. I'm anonymity, so Danny usually does a lot of the investigation on the house before we go in. And if they go to talk about anything about these locations, headphones, noise canceling, other room, la 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 la, I will not listen to nothing. I will get mad at them actually. I've got pretty mad at
Yeah,
somebody
she's
who
jumped
say,
on me a couple times, like, I was like, all right.
Don't tell me, just don't tell me nothing. And then I will go into a house and blow people's minds. Because I've gone into places and seen where people have killed themselves.
And I was skeptic on mediums. So the first one that they had me to research, I kept a couple of things out of the notes that everybody else knew, but the other two things I left out, I only knew. And then she nailed everything. Plus a couple of things that I didn't have in my notes.
I've even scared, because we did Davey's house, and I don't know why I kept saying this galvanized pipe coming out of the roof. Nobody knew about this galvanized pipe, by the way, and it was weird. It kind of like came out of the roof, went this way, and then went back up.
Except for me.
The owner was like, "How did you know that was there? Because we don't even have that recorded." Like nobody knew about this. That was removed before the house was even opened up for investigations. I'm like, I don't know, I just keep seeing it. I don't know why. I just see it. I was there for it. So.
What did it have to do with the house?
No
We
clue.
have no clue.
No clue. We still have no clue.
They can't even tell us.
They can't even tell us. But I just kept seeing it.
Do you just get flashes?
Kind of like still frame pictures a little bit. I do kind of speak to spirits in a way, but I wouldn't say I speak like I'm speaking to you. Like I can hear them talk to me, but I can't like super replay back to them or reply back to them. You know, I can tell what's going on.
Clairvoyance instead of clairaudient.
Yeah, I'm clairvoyant instead of clairaudient.
Great.
I'm Greg Cable, host of Midwest Paratalk Radio. I've been a paranormal investigator for the better part of 20 years. Started off in Indianapolis. My grandfather passed away. He kicked the foot of my bed the day of his funeral, and I've been looking into paranormal stuff ever since. I think one of the best parts about me doing what I do is, especially, I mean, it's twofold. Doing the radio show, you get to bring out information to people that might not know. Like I was mentioning to you earlier, my co-host is a UFO experiencer. So we have a lot of UFO content of stuff that I had no idea that ever could have been possible in a million years. Now, with the paranormal, I've seen things and been in proximity of voices and sounds and kicks and bangs and disembodied voices. And at that point, it's not a scary thing for me, but I need to know why that is happening. Why is it that something is trying to communicate that I can't see, or even sometimes even hear without having a digital voice recorder? So the drive for me is to find out what I can about paranormal. You know, not necessarily answers. And when you're in the field for 20 years, you get to a point in your career in the paranormal where it's not my job to try to convince you that there are ghosts. It's not my job to try to push what I think onto you about it. My job is to gather the information, go over the evidence, present it to you, and you take with what you want. You know, but a lot of people are not like that, and that's okay. It is what it is. But you know, it's just the knowledge of trying to figure out what's going on and why is what drives me, and I think that is pretty normal throughout the paranormal field. So, yeah.
Well, we live in Louisville,
Mm-hmm.
and our house is rather old. It was built in 1870. Do you find a lot of paranormal in the older houses versus maybe some younger houses?
No,
No.
not really. There's really no difference. mostly with houses, depending on if you have residual hauntings or you have intelligent hauntings. The residual stuff, it's gonna be there forever. It's just that energy imprinting on the timeline in the space-time continuum.
We have that.
Yeah. So, but for intelligent haunts, for older houses, for newer houses, a lot of it depends on the land that it's on. Or, I mean, if you have say somebody was murdered or died in your house, it's no different than somebody building a house in a subdivision up the road who dies in that house. That energy is still going to be there. I will say, however, that older houses are living, breathing, living structures.
Agreed.
So it stores that energy. So if somebody that lived there 50 years ago is shit, then it's gonna hold on to that energy. So you can feel what's going on in the house by just walking into it, especially if you're a medium. You can feel that energy. So I think not necessarily more haunted, just more residual energy held within the structure.
More
of the home.
experience, more
Yeah.
life. It's like people, more life experience. That house has been there for ages and
Mhm.
ages. So now you've had this family, and this family, and this family, and this family, and all of that energy just stays. It doesn't
Not
go
to
away.
mention any renovations throughout that time frame can also increase the activity.
Sure.
So
We'll get a question. for
What you got, my man?
We'll go to questions for 1 second.
hold on one second.
Okay.
So, but to touch on that, like they were saying, an old house and a new house, there's no difference. You get these old houses like yours, you know, it's there and you're having activity. If you were to move out, somebody else buy it and they bulldoze that house and build a new one, it's not gonna go anywhere. It's still, that energy is still there. It stays.
We have plenty of energy.
I was gonna say you could possibly even leave your own energy there.
Exactly.
Maybe.
You never know. Our job is to basically dive into it scientifically.
Yeah.
Because how do you prove something that you can't see or touch or feel? I mean, there's no way for me to prove that to you. I can give you like 50 million videos and evidence and shadows and mists and whatever, and you're still could be like, well, that could be faked. Everything can be faked. But there's new scientific ways to like look into things. And another big thing is environmental factors. Like maybe somebody isn't really haunted. Maybe it's an environmental factor, which I just learned something interesting just the other day. There's actually a sound wave that causes hallucinations. It's called infrasound. That could be in your house. You don't hear it. Your dog hears it. Your cat hears it. You don't hear it. But it can make you infrasound.
Infrasound.
Yeah.
It's
It literally
really
can make
crazy.
you
Yeah.
hallucinate, vomit, be sick. Like, it can cause a lot of issues with you. And guess what? You'll never know it. You'll never know it. There's a special machine that you have to buy to put in your house to check if you have those sound waves in your house. EMF meters. You see a lot of paranormal people use EMF meters, you know, to check them. Anything over 300 causes hallucinations. What happens if that's right above your head and you're in your bedroom? You don't have a ghost. You have hallucinations. A lot of people realize that they don't have, you know, they don't go up and they go, oh, look, I got a K2 meter. Oh, behind my bed, it's like 350 milligauss right now. I'm gonna hallucinate. Nobody carries these around and checks their house before they go into it. They just all of a sudden start seeing and hearing things, and it starts happening over and over, and then they have sleep paralysis demons and stuff. We go and we check that out and see if that's there. And then if it's not there, there's more evidence of, you know, paranormal, like how are you having these hallucinations if there's no EMF readings at all?
That point, they're not hallucinations anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you also have things like molds, certain spores can cause, you know, hallucinations and such. But those things all tie into environmental. So I mean, we take more into consideration than just EMF or anything like that. We want to dig into, if we come into the house, we see a bunch of mold in your ceiling. Okay.
Get you in 1 second.
Now-
I see your hand. I
now
see
we
it.
will-
I feel you.
now we will start, looking even further, like if this mold's here, what's under the sinks, what's this, I mean, and like Jason was even saying yesterday, and I love that he said this, like, we're gonna delve into your life, that's what we do, because there are so many other different things that can be going on, abuse, sexual abuse, all of that ties into a person's mind state, and to be honest, that also ties into things like poltergeist activity and whatnot.
Let me give you an example. Anybody know what a poltergeist is? You ever heard of a poltergeist? Poltergeist is residual energy from somebody that has been traumatized. That means if I was traumatized and I had, any trauma, it could be even small trauma.
No, it has to be pretty
Like, it's usually pretty significant to the person, but, but say, for instance, I was raped, and a part of myself kind of the best way I can explain it is like a part of myself breaks off, and haunts me, and haunts him, and haunts my house, and throws shit, and, and is destructive, and goes crazy. The only way to stop that is to go get therapy. You have to go to a therapist, you have to go get mental help. It's not a ghost, it's not a spirit, it's literally energy that you've put off from your trauma, which stinks, because it don't go away. And then say that person doesn't get help for their stuff and they die, and then the poltergeist is still there, and now there's no therapy for them to get rid of it. It stays there. You wanna start first on that one?
Okay, so did you have anything you wanted to add?
No?
Okay, so we'll go ahead and open it up to questions. You had your
Okay, so little story real quick. I've had experiences my whole life, but the one thing that I've seen, there's no getting around, is I lived in an apartment. I don't live there anymore, but they're Donaldson Arms Apartments down here downtown, and it was just me and my daughter. She was asleep on the couch in the front room, and I was in the middle room, and I heard a crash, and I ran into the living room, and my TV was upside down on my living room floor, and that specific entertainment center that it was sitting on had a bar going across the front of it, so it's not like it could have just slid off. It was just on the ground. She was asleep, there was no one else to have done it, and so I picked the TV up, and it's got like a little spot on the corner where it hit, and it's discolored now. And so, like, in my mind, I'm trying to rationalize it, but I had a lot of other weird experiences in that apartment.
I have a question for you. What time of year was this when it happened?
Wow. Okay, this was like over 10 years ago.
Do you remember what season it was?
I believe it might have been winter.
So that's a good thing for you to tell me that, because I just learned another thing just recently, that there's something called ice quakes. So if it's wintertime and it's really cold outside, there's actually, you can Google research this. It's basically where the ground freezes, and it freezes so hard that when it, you know how you put a bottle in the freezer and it freezes and explodes the bottle? It's kind of what the ground does. It can cause many earthquakes here in Evansville, Indiana. And I just because I found out about it this
Yeah.
winter, because I was like, I felt one, and I was like, are we having an earthquake? What is this? We were in Chandler. Middle of the night, nobody else realized it. Stuff was shaking. Nobody was awake, just me. I have insomnia.
Well,
and that stuff can happen and knock stuff over.
Yeah.
That's why I asked. But that's
but
part
then
of the
like when
debunking.
like other stuff around the house was shook too, not just like my TV had fallen off.
Yeah,
I don't know,
there's
it's
a lot. We always, and that's what I'm saying, like, we always look in, we try to debunk first, and if we can't debunk it.
Yeah,
there you
that's why I
go.
was asking about the EMF. Like, can that cause things to move?
No,
at all?
EMF cannot cause.
Not the EMF itself.
Okay.
So with EMF isn't actually the ghost. That is what that we in the paranormal field believe energizes entities so that they can actually use
Right.
their ability to move things. Because it takes an incredible amount of energy for them to actually move something.
Right.
So, this is just my cell phone. I'm reading 67 milligauss off my phone. And you put that to your head every day. Milligauss are right down here on the bottom. It's just your phone. I don't even have it lit up. I don't have nothing working on it. I don't have a phone call going through it. This is normal, every day, EMF. I can go to different areas throughout here, and if I find power that's hooked up to something, like, nothing there. That's just a 220. Usually they regulate it a little bit, like your electrical stuff, they'll regulate it to where it's not super bad, but you'd be surprised at some of the older houses what you find. There's that.
Who else had a question?
It was
What is the coolest or most surprising EVP that you've ever gotten?
That's me, that's a hand down. So my team and I we were actually just, doing a training session, I think it was, wasn't it? We were I won't disclose the exact location of this place, but we were actually in a cemetery. And we were out there and we were working with EVPs. And my son, Gary, was standing next to me and I was doing an EVP session and Gary sneezed. And I had asked the question, is there anybody here with us? And right as I had said that and you heard Gary sneeze, directly after that we got a response that said, "Get the child." And it was the clearest EVP that I had ever heard in my life. Like, it was wispy and whispery, but you could hear it. It was there. And honestly, that's probably the most impressive one that I've come across in my almost 7 years now of experience, so.
I'd have to say that's one of my favorites, because it was my son.
It was impressive, so.
Yeah, get the child.
Get the child, that's all it said. Oh, it did, it
Okay,
put us off.
So,
Exactly.
So you can take it two different ways, like, get the child because he might be sick, because he coughed or sneezed or whatever. Or it could be like, get your child, get him out of here, kind of thing, like, but you never know, so.
What about his?
Mine?
Yeah, what's your,
I was sitting here trying to think about some of the EVPs that I've gotten. We were doing I'm originally from Indianapolis, and we were doing a house in Franklin Township, which is the far southeast side of Indianapolis. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, we decided we're gonna take a break, go outside, have a smoke, get a snack, get a drink. We're all coming back in and we had put all of our walkie-talkies on the countertop. The homeowners were with us because we had them investigate with us, which is another good idea if you guys are going to do paranormal investigations at an individual's house. Have them investigate with you. They will either be trigger items for whatever's giving them problems in the house, or they can tell you, yeah, this happens here, this happens there. Anyway, I digress. So there are 8 walkie-talkies on the table. One walkie-talkie. I will say they were all set on, of course, channel 13. One walkie-talkie out of all of them keyed off by itself, and I could hear a little girl's voice. The little girl said, "Hello, everybody," and then keyed off, and that was it. This is 3 o'clock in the morning. It couldn't have been cross-bleed from someone else's radio, especially where we were, because we were pretty much in the boondocks. But I had that, Mansfield Prison, Ohio State Reformatory. Walked into the commissary, and the story in the commissary is that there was a rapist that was imprisoned there, and he was kind of kept segregated from Gen Pop. And they ended up getting to him anyway and killing him in that room in the commissary. And the EVP, there was 3 knocks on the door, the only wood door in the place. Everything else was brick and metal doors. This was the only wood door, and it looked like to a closet. There were 3 knocks on it. And we started going that way, and I asked, hey, is this you knocking on the door? What's going on? You want to talk to us? And the EVP came back with, "Mr. Roberts won't talk. I don't like men." It was a cool one.
That's a long one.
It was a long one, and it seems like, and let's talk about the Davies house.
okay, I gotta do that one.
yeah.
I
The
gotta do
Davies
that one.
house.
I gotta do it. Because I was laughing when I heard
That
that
was
one.
hilarious.
So we started a new way of investigating. So we don't grill the ghosts no more. So, it's played out. How many times have you heard somebody go, "Is anybody here with us? Are
Would you
you
like to talk
friendly?
to us?"
Would you like to
We
talk
call
to
those
us?"
interrogations.
It's like interrogate. That's what we're calling it now. It's a ghost interrogation.
Mhm.
Yeah, we don't do that no more. We just have normal conversations. Well, all I hear is them talking about something, because we're listening to audio and
Well,
video.
for context, my co-host that does the radio show with me and she was there with us. This is my first investigation with these guys, my very first one.
No, we weren't in the house.
No, we were the
No,
ones there.
it was
You
just-
guys were.
Greg and,
Yeah, it was
It was
Danny,
Deb.
Deb, and myself. They were investigating another location. And, sitting there, and, you know, when her and I get together, we just kind of BS anyway, so it's like going to watch a comedy show. It's just back and forth at each other. And,
You'd be surprised what you get from that.
yeah, she was drinking a cherry Pepsi and set it down, and we're just talking, you know, yeah, this is a cool house, they say they have this and that there, and her stomach gurgles, right? And we started laughing, and she's like, call me Gurgle McGurgleson, and we're laughing, and on the EVP, you can hear a woman's voice, just like if I was to talk to anybody in here, it's clear as day, go, gurgles.
You know the crazy thing is I thought it was her.
It was weird.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was
When I listened to the
crazy.
EVP, I thought it was Sydney. Sydney.
Yeah.
It sounded just like
That's
just
not-
like Sydney, but she
that's
wasn't
not
even
what I was
there.
talking about.
Oh, yeah?
That's not the one I was talking
Well,
about. The
the
one I was
pickles.
talking about was,
Oh, God.
they were talking about.
that one had me cracking up on the, I was watching the camera.
I'm listening to the EVPs and stuff with them, cause I'm hard of hearing, so I have to like crank it to hear it. But this one was so clear that I'm sitting there and they're talking about pickles, and all you hear is this EVP in the background go, I like pickles. And I was like, what?
So we,
Hold on.
yeah, we asked it if it liked pumpkin, what was it, pumpkin pie or
Yeah.
Yeah.
something else, and it says, I like pumpkin. And we're sitting there, and there's a little law, like you do. I was like, pickles. You like pickles? And that's when it hit back. It's like,
I like pickles. I was like,
That was pretty cool.
So they were at the house that we caught that at, which is no longer in
No longer
action.
allowing investigation.
No longer allowing investigations, was one of our favorite houses. I know everybody talks about Waverly and everything else, but Davy's house in Kokomo, Indiana was
Oh, yeah,
the
we love
hands
Davies.
down best ever, okay? It had a mix of everything from a little bit, you know, aggressive, angry, evil to sweet and innocent,
Did
okay?
they sell the house? Is that why it's not?
Divorce.
Divorce. So the house is no longer available, but they were there at the location by themselves because we were investigating and I can't say where at or what name of this one, but we were on another location while they were there. We met up with them later, but we got to investigate a Masonic temple.
Which was nice.
Good luck on getting in one of those.
It's pretty hard.
It's really hard. I got to see some really amazing things. That's like probably one of my favorite investigations.
Every so often we go out to the Sunset Memorial Cemetery, and I can see spirits, like day.
Yeah.
Well, there was not a lot of spirits there, and I said, is anybody still here? I heard this voice say, I'm still here. And it was not need an audio box or anything, it was straight out, I'm still here.
So we would call that a disembodied voice. If it just, you heard it with your ears and you didn't need anything to hear it, it's a disembodied voice. is
Yes.
what that was.
I can tell you guys something that's really interesting from a medium's point of view. Okay, so recently my mother passed away. Okay, I've been a medium my whole life. This actually stumped me, and I almost quit the team. My mom didn't talk to me. Nothing. And I was like, man, I'm done. I'm getting off the team. I'm done. I can't do this no more. Like, because I had always told my mom, when you pass away, you better come back and haunt me. She did. But like, it would have been really cool, right? You know, it's kind of hard when you come into those little aspects and being in paranormal, and you have, because actually we're not allowed to investigate if we have a death in the family, if we have, say, me and my significant other, we get into an argument, we're not allowed to come on investigation at all
For that night.
for that night.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you want to go in a good
It'll
headspace.
be in a good headspace, yeah.
We don't investigate any place that is breaking or entering. Usually get permission everybody
Permission
to
only,
go
we have
public property.
paperwork that we have to have signed to do an investigation. Just, it covers us, it covers the homeowner, it keeps everybody from being any type of legality issue. Any other questions?
Ask away, go ahead.
It's on the EVP aspect. Has a spirit ever cussed you out?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
100%, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I got a story. So we had one of our investigators at Davy's house get touched a little too roughly.
Choked out. Let's just be honest.
Let's be honest. They got choked out. Okay, so I went downstairs, and I'm a mama bear. I'm really protective of my team, and they all know it. Danny and his broken ankle, I was yelling at him all the time, you need to sit down. I really am. I'm mama bear. So you just messed with one of my team members, and so I went downstairs and I'm like, you have no right, and I got mad. And it was cussing me up and down through the spirit box like this. What did it call me? A whore? Like just, I mean, the whole 9 yards. And it was pissed at me. And I was like, if you're gonna come after somebody, come after me. And which I don't condone. And anyway, don't do that. Okay? I was just pissed.
She got a talking to for that.
I got a talk.
Oh, I was thinking about the one where,
Yeah, it is a no-no. It's a huge no-no.
It's a
We do
huge-
not antagonize.
No provoking.
I am big about that. I don't agree with teams that go out there and disrespect the dead. And you can ask any one of my investigators if I catch them antagonizing. That's usually a one-way ticket off the team.
they're
I
gone.
don't do it. I don't condone it.
I was more upset in the fact of somebody else touching, like, you have no right to touch anybody here, you have no right to hurt anybody, you know, we're not hurting you, kind of stuff, but yeah, I got cussed out pretty bad. It was great.
My son and I, we investigated a place in Columbus, Indiana called the Crump Theater. And this was probably his first investigation with me. And we're in what they call a quiet room, which back in the day, in the 1800s, when they would do live shows in these theaters, they would have a quiet room so the mothers could take the babies up so it wouldn't disturb all the other patrons. And this room had a glass in it that they could still watch, but nobody could hear the baby. And we're same principle. We're just sitting there BS and talking back and forth, and we're giggling and having a good time. Like my son, myself, and like 3 other investigators. And it asked if one of the investigators asked if they wanted my son Corey to leave. Do you want Corey to leave? And the EVP came back and said, Corey's a bitch. So, and it was a little girl's voice, so she was like, yeah, he's a bitch, get him out of here.
I'm all looking
Yeah.
at their kids in here, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, it's, the EVP, I think that's the best part for me. That's the grail, other than full body aberration, which we all know. If you're in the paranormal, 90% of the time, you're not gonna see that, you know?
But we also doing paranormal investigating isn't for the faint of heart. And we were just talking about it earlier today that, you know, we go into investigations now because we're seasoned investigators, kind of like what, you know, they were saying yesterday at Jason's thing. They're desensitized to it. And we'll get people that come in because we're always hiring. I mean, you don't get paid for your job, but, you know, we're always hiring new people on the team, we're always taking applications for it. We actually have a juniors team too, with permissions from parents. We do not take them to anything that is malevolent or could be possibly dangerous. My son is actually the head of that team. But we were saying it earlier, like, nowadays we go into places and nothing really scares us besides that box. But, nothing
Turn
really.
it on and tell them what you're
Okay,
talking
hold on,
about.
I got it.
I'm gonna walk through that.
Well, wait until it's
Yeah.
set. Wait until it's set.
So a little thing about this box. It's pitch dark. Imagine yourself. Let's paint a picture.
Well, it's
It's pitch dark,
see it caught you.
and you happen to walk by that, forgetting that it's actually on the table wherever you're walking by, and you pee a little bit.
And
I'm
he
just saying.
jumps every time.
Okay, now you can walk.
Why they couldn't put some upbeat music on?
Right.
I'll never know.
Pitch slack.
Let's put the spooky
But you walk past it, and it picks up motion.
And he
Okay.
forgets where it's been sitting at, and he'll walk by it and it'll go off and you'll see.
Yeah, don't pull that crap. I'm not the only one that does that. So you sit this thing down somewhere, and it's black, and it's dark and you can't see it and you walk by and this music just starts playing out of nowhere. I don't care how big you are, you can be the biggest guy, even you. You're gonna pee a little. I'm just saying. There's been times where I was like, I should have brought my ground pants. Like, it's bad.
This box scared everybody, and I bought it and I love it. Because I wait for it every time, and I'm sorry for whoever comes and watches our videos when this thing is on, because you will hear curse words coming out of our mouth.
I love the song that's on it.
Right.
She's got one that's just regular music box sound. That's much creepier, I like it.
That's, and also, FYI, paranormal equipment is, oh my god, expensive.
Yeah.
Unless you're getting it off of Amazon for things like this or this.
$400. Motion sensor, a light, and a music box.
On what appears to be a piece of tuba stick.
Yeah, right? Like,
In the shape of a cock-off.
in the shape of a coffin.
So somebody put some time into it and
Yeah, no,
engineering,
it's,
but
I love it.
It's a
one of my
really great
favorites.
piece of equipment.
Um,
That being said, like, there is equipment that, you know, we don't really care much for, and that's like your ovuluses. I don't like those. I don't like those for a couple of reasons, and I think the rest of my team can agree that I don't trust something that's a database of words. And now you have people who have been dead for hundreds of years sometimes. You mean tell me this person knows how to work this piece of equipment and to raise and lower stuff to make it pick out a certain word that they're wanting to say? No, bullshit. I'm sorry. Pardon my French. It's BS. I don't like ovuluses. I do not use them. So I like the oldies and the goldies, you know, EVPs, video. I believe what I can hear and see. But
I got you out. We'll get you in 1 second.
my main thing is we have to be able to be accountable for this piece of equipment and know when it's working properly and when it's not. And with that, I can't. You know.
What's the question?
Just how much is the EMP pump? Or the, not the EMP.
The RIM pod?
These?
Yeah, that's what I meant,
Roughly
I'm
about-
tired, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Roughly about 200.
Yeah, they're
They're like 179.
not as
You can find them on eBay for cheaper, but
used.
Used.
yeah, they're used, and which is nothing wrong with that. But you just have to buyer beware
Does anybody
type of
know?
situation.
Does anybody not know what this is?
Has anybody ever? You've all seen one of these before.
Yeah.
No, I've seen one. Alright.
Okay, so honestly, this is probably one of my favorite pieces of equipment because it's one of those that you can just turn it on, set it in a room, and be elsewhere, and you will hear this thing go off. When it starts screaming at you, it will go off for sure.
Right.
And then it also has this little, I call it a nipple, pardon the French, but it's a little wire and just barely sticking up out of there, a little black piece. And what that does is that gauges temperature in the room. So if the temperature in the room fluctuates 5 degrees in either direction, it's going to sound an alarm.
I'll turn it on for you guys because it was going off earlier. Hold on. Putting it on max range because that way I only have to be this far away to get it. The closer you get, the more it screams at you. There's an itty bitty light right in the front, and it'll light up red and then start going off because the temperature will change, which is going to be common in this room because the door's open.
Yeah, as soon as the air kicks on, that's going to start complaining.
A lot of times they have it on television where they use toys or, you know, like an object.
We have those.
We call those trip.
Do you do that often?
Yes, we actually have one that we really like that we didn't bring. It's called we call it a scare bear. We actually got it from Ghost Stop?
Ghost Stop.
No, it wasn't. It was Attic
No,
Junkie.
Attic Junkie. There
So
go.
we got it from Attic Junkie, and what it is it is essentially a REM pod built into this bear. And it's got lights and it makes noise, so when something touches the bear, like when I touch that, it's gonna freak out and scream. So these trigger objects that we use, we also use cat balls. You'll see that a lot in the paranormal field. Those things are fantastic.
We also bought, okay, so another thing, Davey's house was amazing for it. There was a young lady that passed away. It's still in the house. Her name's Rita. We would buy her trigger objects every time we'd go up there.
Bring her
A new one every time that we'd go up there. What, we've been up there like 3 or 4 times now?
Yeah.
3.
3. The last one we bought was this little chicken.
Yeah.
It was like a little chicken, but if you touched it, it would light up. And
Not
we-
just any touch either. You had to like touch it.
Like you
to
had
get
to
it do
actually
it.
like touch.
And we've
to
had
get
it go off.
It would just sit
while
there
we
and
were up
go
there. It
off.
would start playing and doing its thing.
She was older, physically.
Age regress.
but she had age regressed from, abuse. So,
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you guys think about spirit boxes?
Never leave home without them, buddy. Okay, so the reason.
Another question.
Okay.
All right.
The reason why we like them,
Yeah.
and I will say this: the reason why we like them so much is I like the fact that it sweeps so fast that radio is just literally on it. You're not going to catch full words. So when you get full words or even sentences, yeah. Tell me how the same 7 radio stations that it took for that to come out
Right.
had a whole sentence. It's not possible. It's a physical impossibility.
but with that being said, we like the older one. We haven't got to try the SB11 yet. But what was it, the one,
S-Box.
S-Box, there we go.
We don't like that one. It doesn't sweep fast enough.
Thank you.
So that's a combination between a REM pod hit and a temperature. So it's temperature because probably because the air kicked on. Now, I will say this about the REM pod. You gotta watch two-way radios. They can interfere. So somebody could be using a REM pod.
If somebody's
here
using
somewhere.
a walkie-talkie out there, it's gonna hit that.
Yeah.
It'll also hit this, your mill. This mill.
Also, text messages and phone calls will cause it to go off.
Do you have a
as
second
well.
You had a second part of the question. What was that?
Oh, yes.
Sorry.
What do you think about the YouTubers out there that are trying to establish themselves as paranormal investigators, like Omar Gosh TV or, you know,
More power to them.
yeah?
I think,
Cause I've noticed he's
I guess it kind of depends.
changing his views towards more
What do you
paranormal
think, Greg?
investigating. Like he's trying to
What do you
establish.
think?
I mean,
Tell
okay,
how you really feel.
so,
Okay.
could I say something?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it kind of depends, cause my kids have brought some people to my attention, like, Max and Cody, I think it is.
Jake and Cody?
Yeah, Jake and
Kobe.
Cody, Kobe,
Yeah.
there we go.
Ah.
Is that the twins?
I don't think
They're
it's,
young boys.
they're
I don't
younger
know.
boys.
Sam and Colby.
Yeah,
There
Sam
it
and
is.
Kobe, there we go,
Freaking
thank you.
guys.
So, I've watched some of their stuff. Some of it, some of it, I'm like, they're really disrespectful.
Yeah.
And I think if you're gonna be an investigator, why be
All right,
disrespectful?
you're gonna.
That's just temperature change, by the way.
Yeah.
Quit yelling. We hear you.
So, I think, I don't tell anybody not to do this line of profession. I mean, unless you're scared of the dark and you don't like to be touched, and you don't like to be messed with, and you might possibly have something follow you home, but,
That's not as common as long as you're respectful.
yeah, be respectful. Even when we are dealing with something that's negative, we get a response from that something, even if it's negative, we tell them thank you. We're still respectful to that entity, we're polite. So, I mean, yeah, more, like, I totally full-heartedly think that, you know, if this is what you wanna do it. Enjoy it, be a part of it, but just respect what you're doing.
Drake.
Your thought on it? 1 second. let me look at you. Or Richard.
Most of what you find on YouTube is kind of what you're thinking is fabricated with most of the people that are doing it. There are a handful of investigators that I've found, and I'm on YouTube a lot, trust me. Probably way more than what I probably should be. But, for example, like, of course, you know, GH, you know, I will watch them all the time
Absolutely.
now because I think what they're doing is genuine and how they go about doing that. The Sam and Colby guys,
Yeah.
they're great until they have somebody join them.
Right.
There are, just like you have to be careful when doing investigations, you gotta be careful of what you're going into and know, and be prepared to investigate that, okay, do you have speakers in your ceiling? Do you have, you know, a knocker inside of the wall that you push a button and it knocks on your wall?
Like Jason said in that
Yeah.
one episode.
Yeah,
And
in
you
San
fall apart
San
with your
Francisco,
hand.
I think was where at
Yeah.
Bluebell or Blue Moon Bar.
We went to a place that we investigated, I'm not gonna say any names, cause again, you know, I don't wanna throw anybody under the bus, but one of the investigation places that we went to, there was somebody that lived there. in like a Harry Potter cupboard under the stairs.
And yeah, they were real skeptical on letting us see what was going on in that room. And that's another thing with our investigations is I want to know what the whole house is going on. If there's a room you're not gonna let me in, peace out. We'll see you later. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Like, because I need to know what's going on.
Yeah.
I've got a team in here. I'm responsible for everybody's safety, and so what I'm putting out there is gonna go against my credibility. Like, if you get caught faking something later on down the line, and I said I found something there, now that calls my credibility into question. So.
Yeah.
Check out,
I got you, I remember.
Dalen Spratt. He's on the Ghost Brothers, or he's part of Ghost Brothers on YouTube. He's going around, he's calling it the graveyard shift.
We got 14.
And he goes around to different graveyards with the ghost box or spirit box and does sessions there.
Yeah.
But I did find, and I'll be done
No,
after
you're
this,
good.
but
You're fine.
most of the videos on YouTube I see, like I said, if they have guests on, I'm real questionable about what's going on because now you've got 2 YouTube channels trying to get clicks.
Right.
And they're, you're gonna get people that are just gonna do stuff for that anyway. But yeah, like Felicia said though, I mean, if you're doing investigations and you wanna do live YouTube or copy, or, video it for YouTube, well, yeah, hell yeah, do it. The more exposure, the better, but just be honest about doing it.
And be respectful.
Right.
Above all, be respectful. Keep it real.
Another quick way to get kicked off our team is if you get caught faking evidence.
We've never had that problem. Luckily, we've never had that problem.
All right, you had a question?
Have you ever run into cursed objects?
Hold on, Dave. I got this. Okay, so cursed objects, that is a very subjective term. Have we come across things that maybe was somebody's favorite item in life? Yeah, we've seen them. We've got one in our house right now. I will say this about those cursed objects, that you're talking something that's been physically cursed by somebody, and I guess it really just depends if you really put stock in those kind of things. Me personally, it's hard to tell. I haven't really decided whether I believe in cursed objects.
Or possessed objects?
Possessed objects, I don't believe objects can necessarily be possessed. Possession is something that happens to people. And that is one of those things that is less than 1% of 1% of cases. So in an entire lifetime of a paranormal investigator, you may never see anything like that. That term gets thrown around way too liberally. Not everything's a demon, and I can't stress that enough. There are just really bad people that have died a lot of times, who are going to scare you, or they're going to harm you, try to harm you. Like, I mean, I've been scratched before. Doesn't mean it was a demon,
I was
but
shoved down to the floor.
yes, there are objects out there that have attachments, is what I like to call them. And my suggestion to the general public would be to avoid those. You can get things like that on Etsy that are claimed to be that way. Whether they are or aren't, we have found some to be legitimate. I would not recommend it. I really would not recommend it.
We had a couple of them in our house because we were testing the theory on our page because, you can go on Etsy and buy a haunted doll all day long.
Or Dybbuk
And
boxes.
Dybbuk boxes, oh my gosh,
Yes.
the Dybbuk boxes you buy.
Don't do that. Just
Don't do it.
It's not
So,
worth what's gonna happen.
we had just moved into our new place and we had 3 dolls in our house. One looked like a Raggedy Ann doll that they had named Annie.
Jokingly.
They had named it Annie and said that it was possessed. And we were just testing the theory. So kind of a few of us all had a doll in our house, or 2 or 3 of them, to see what we would get out of them. And we first moved into this brand new house, never had no issues, and every night after midnight, before midnight, there was stuff running through the house. I had what sounded like glass breaking off the floor, and you'd go in there, nothing there. I finally got pissed off, and I was like, if you don't stop, I'm gonna put you in a box with some salt, and I'm gonna Palo Santo, and I'm gonna holy water, and I'm gonna seal you away. And guess what? It was quiet.
Sometimes you just gotta set boundaries. But yes, I mean, there are items out there like that. Again, some paranormal investigators are gonna be like, no, that's not possible, that I don't believe in that, but again, we've seen what we feel is actual items that can be like that, but as far as possession goes, no. Okay, so, any other questions?
Yes, excuse me, Greg, what was the name of that show by Dalen?
Dylan Spratt,
Yeah.
Ghost Brothers on,
Oh, no, the Graveyard,
Graveyard Shift on,
Graveyard Shift on
yeah.
YouTube.
If you
Okay.
Google his name or YouTube, search him on YouTube, it'll come up first one.
Okay, thank you.
Also, guys, we are nonprofit and we don't charge for any of our services.
Okay, so I'm gonna take a couple more questions after she finishes, and then we're gonna do
yeah.
something here.
So we don't charge for our services. So if somebody calls us and tells us that they want us to come out and investigate their house, we come out and investigate their house. We don't charge them nothing. If somebody wants to donate money, that's fine. It goes directly to the Paranormal Society. It goes towards equipment, gas, whatever.
But you will not ever receive a bill for our services.
No
ever.
bill.
We look at it this way, our services are for everybody, not just the people who are rich enough to afford the help.
Hence the question that I asked yesterday when Jason asked.
Go ahead.
What was one of the most dangerous or creepy paranormal thing you guys have witnessed?
Oh, I got the one.
Well, probably the most alarming, I wouldn't say any of them that we've come across have been inherently dangerous, but the most alarming was my wife had been asleep all night after our investigation, because the place we were investigating allowed us to be there until 10 a.m. So we were catching a little bit of sleep before we got back to driving home. And she was sleeping and she got up to use the restroom and she stood up a little too fast. And I don't know if anybody's ever done this, when they stand up a little too fast, like you almost lose consciousness where it almost goes black.
I'll explain it because I went through it. So I got up, went to go to the bathroom, my eyes kind of went black, then it came back. But I still had this weird feeling. So mind you, I've never been touched ever before this. How I wish for. I walk into the bathroom, I lock the door. At 5, this is the reason why we don't have the rule, lock doors. We won't lock the door anymore. So go in there and I sit on the toilet and I lean on my legs like this and I'm like, oh my God, I can't get up. And I just felt like I was completely drained of all energy. It was like I had nothing left in me. And so I sat there and I go, I really need help because I can't get up. And I look at the door and I'm like, shit, I locked the door. There ain't nobody getting in here. So I finally I think I was in there. Danny, how long do you think I was in there? I was in there for like a good 30 minutes, right?
Yeah,
At least.
cause I gotten up about 30 minutes later and you was in the floor.
Just sitting there because I couldn't get up. And finally I mustered up enough strength. I'm like, if I can get to the door and I can just unlock it, I can call for Billy and he can help me. So I mustered up, I get to the door, I unlock it, I open the door, and I just on the ground.
After you called for me.
And I go, Billy, and hit the ground. And I have never in my life felt the sensation that I felt that day, where it felt like I was not close enough to the ground and I was laying on the ground. And I was trying to rationalize everything in my brain. I was like, maybe it's
And
my
she
blood
couldn't
sugar.
yell his
maybe-
name loud enough either.
Yeah, it was like, I was like, is it my blood sugar? I'm like, give me soda. Cause he came and I was like, give me soda. Maybe it's my blood sugar. I've never had a blood sugar thing in my life. Never. I was like, maybe it was cause I stood up too fast, but usually that goes away after like 30 seconds, it doesn't stay. So we ended up going back and looking at the recording and we could see hands grip around my shoulders and a black figure pushed me all the way down to the ground. And that was the first time that scared me. I was like, okay, that was gnarly. Like,
Okay, so before we wrap up, I need everybody to do this.
Here, real quick. Hold on. Just one. Just one? Okay, so I put 2 winner tickets underneath somebody's chair. So go look under your chair.
Everybody
It
look
should
at
be
me.
in the
Reach under
right,
your
it
chair
should be
down
in
so
the
you can
front.
Paper or card.
Are they both empty? Okay, so, because if you're sitting, I think where they're at, they're both empty seats.
Yeah.
So, if it's an empty seat to your right or your left,
Or
check.
even in front of you.
Or even, like, if it's on your route, check right behind you. Whoever gets the first seat first, like, go, I don't care.
And if you put your hand in gum,
Just
it's
look
not
under. Did you find it?
It's one right here.
Oh, hey, there you go.
Did you get the other one?
That's
No,
it?
not that.
No,
Oh,
it's
that's
gonna
not
look
it.
like that.
Oh,
I think
man.
that was somebody's sticker. Now they're gonna get us for vandalizing their property.
Where's the second one?
It should be on that side.
It's on that side. Look
Yeah, the
under
second
the
one's
picture.
on this
It's
side.
gonna look like a fold up piece of paper like this.
I think it's closer to the front.
Mhm.
It online. If you don't want it on there, we don't put it on there.
Right.
Like, that's your evidence, that's your house. We're just there to show you and tell you what there is and go from there. We can't promise a removal, but we can do basic cleansings, and he's ordained, I'm ordained. Mine's more pagan, his is more Christian religion, so we do a little bit of everything.
Well, we appreciate everybody coming today. Again, those of you who got one of those, come up here because we need to get some information from
And if you
you.
guys wanna talk to us more, that you're more than
You're
welcome
welcome to come up too, yeah.
We're probably gonna do it out there though,
So
because
they can have the
they
room.
can have, so they can have the room, so we'll go out that way and you guys can meet up with us.
Thanks, guys.